My. We are honored, gentlemen.
That would be Madam Nelson and
Oh, I'm sorry. Gentle lady. Okay, well, let's get started. Call to order the Board of Assessors monthly meeting at May 11th, 2020. In order for us to make sure we got everybody here, can we do a roll call, Ms. Nieta? Ms. Coleman? Ms. Coleman? Hello?
Yes,
roll,
sir.
roll call.
Okay. Roll call vote. Roll call for attendance. We'll start with Mr. O'Neill.
Here.
Ms. Burney.
Here.
Ms. DeAntonac.
Here.
Mr. Mills.
Here.
Mr. Middleton.
Here.
Mr. Scott.
Present.
Mr. Simpkins.
Here.
And of course, Mr. Lee.
I'm here too.
All in attendance.
That's everybody. That would be a quorum. It's my understanding that the graphics and all that IT puts up will not, we can't do that right now. Mr. Ross, you want to explain how we're going to do that?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We are not able to immediately go to YouTube at this time. However, this meeting is being recorded for publishing to the public and to the media outlets immediately after the conclusion of the meeting.
Okay. Well, today, as you have noticed, this board meeting is actually the second time in virtual environment as we adjust accordingly to this coronavirus impact. By use of the Zoom.us, board members and staff will conduct the business of the day as we would do under normal conditions, and for the public media access, this meeting is also being live streamed by use of YouTube, but it'll be available on YouTube. That said, we've done that. Approval of, first item of business is the approval of the agenda.
So move. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any
I would like to
discussion?
add an item to the agenda, please, under other.
Yes.
My placement on the Obsolescence Committee under other, thank you.
With that done, any, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There's nay. Ayes have it. Approval of the regular meeting minutes for April the 13th, 2020. Everybody happy with the minutes?
No, sir. There's a correction that I requested that has not been made, so I will not be voting in favor of approval.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed is nay.
Opposed, Juanita Burney.
Okay. The ayes have it.
7-1.
Okay. Board of Assessors Committee report, Specialized Assessment Obsolescence Committee.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Simpkins here. We did not have a quorum today. Mrs. Dantnak was at our meeting, but she was the only one, so we did not have a quorum. But there's a lot of information that Scott presented to us that I would like for him, if it's okay with the committee, to go through that as information for the board for your consideration, and you can approve or disapprove.
Okay.
Would you prefer I discuss it now or wait during the board recommendations portion of the meeting?
Yeah, let's do
Whenever
that. Under staff recommendations.
Okay.
That's fine.
Anything else, Brian?
No, that's it, sir.
Okay. Let's see here. Then the Personnel Review Committee.
There's no report this month. We did not meet this month, so there's no report.
That'll be fine. Staff recommendations, Ms. W.
Good afternoon. We have a few recommendations under personal property. One I wanted to bring to your attention was the Keebler account. Those are 2019 appeals. And the reason we had to go ahead and send them through as a proposed no value change. A lot of this is based on the prior year appeals when we had the board overage. And that was scheduled to go to the Board of Equalization in January. It was continued till March. And then of course the COVID-19 came through and closed the Judicial Center. So we're hoping to have that rescheduled and try to get all of Keebler accounts resolved. And if there's any questions on any of the other board work, I'll be glad to answer those.
Will that put us behind this coronavirus? Will it put us behind?
Well, we're waiting for them to reschedule on these accounts as far as Keebler goes. I'm not sure how it's going to affect the real estate Board of Equalization hearing.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all I have, sir.
Okay. Residential, Ms. Greer. I think she needs to take herself off mute. Anybody reading her lips?
I'm done. I'm available now. I apologize. Bringing before you today the assessment.
Speak up.
We're bringing before you the assessment change list, where we are sending out 78,277 notices, and I believe y'all have had the board work to review for a week for residential, commercial. And we did have a couple of addendums, and they were to the assessment change itself. And then we had one error of facts. So basically, that's what we worked on. And this will start our 2020 year, or 2020 year for appeals. Our notices will be mailed out May 14th, sometime after 3, this Thursday. But I'm able to entertain any questions you have on any concerns.
Henry Middleton, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
On the properties that had a value of 10, what did that mean? Why was that?
Those are either retention ponds, common area, right of way, or utility. And those don't get tax bills. So in order to do that, we give them a dollar value of 10. And like if it's common area, it's included in whoever's lease or rent. And then of course, retention ponds, a lot of them are owned by the county, but it's just a way of not creating a tax bill.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Nancy?
That's all I have, sir.
Oh, okay, very good.
We'll continue on in
And
more detail.
and commercial and auditors, Mr. Funk.
Yes, sir. I believe our commercial work is in with the bundle y'all are reviewing today.
Right.
Already mentioned. We have one addendum to the 2020 assessment, the Palladium Hospitality. I believe on the reports that were sent, $3,499,808 value. There was a sale for that property in 2019, so we corrected it for the Senate Bill 346 sale of $3,075,000. That should be the only addendum we have for commercial. As far as auditors, they are pressing forward on the personal property return at this time. Audits are temporarily on hold. Processing returns occur.
Okay. You were breaking up a little.
I apologize for that.
Did everybody get the information they wanted?
Yep.
Okay. And what's next? Mr. Roundtree. GIS.
Hello. So today we had several pages of specialized assessments that we're going to review. The first page, we have 11 conservation applications that are either renewals or new applications. All are recommended for approval as they meet the criteria. The bottom of that page, there are 3 FLPA applications, 1 new property and 2 continuations due to the sale of an existing FLPA property. All are recommended for approval. On page 2 begins our exempt applications. All of the ones listed on page 2 are for approvals. There's, going from the top to bottom, a new Boys and Girls Club on Wheeless Road, 2 churches, the Broken Outreach Ministry and Worship Center of Augusta. On Olive Road, there's a piece of property adjacent to a Seventh-day Adventist church. The property is used for parking and various church events. Below there are 2 properties owned by a neighborhood improvement project on Boulevard, which is adjacent to Doctor's Hospital. Both of these are not-for-profit medical offices. And lastly, a warehouse building on Gordon Park Road owned by Sons of Constellation Ministries. It is a not-for-profit organization that collects, refurbishes, and distributes at zero cost medical equipment. Turning to page 3 of 6, there's 4 more approvals. A fellowship hall for Bible Deliverance Temple, a parking area adjacent to the Muslim Community Center on Slayton Street, and 2 buildings in Old Town owned by Augusta Heritage Academy, which are offices, classrooms, and storage buildings. All of those are recommended for approval. Below that, there is a partial approval. This is 3 accounts that we have created for 1 property. It is a apartment development that is a cooperation between the Housing Authority and a private for-profit developer out of Atlanta. And there are portions of these apartment complexes that are reserved for low-income housing tenants, and those portions we're recommending exemption. There are other areas that are market rate apartments and do not qualify for the exemption. We're recommending those portions that are market rate be denied. And then on page 4 of 6, we have 2 denials for vacant and unused property. One on Watkins Street, owned by the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association, and then another vacant property on Dean's Bridge, owned by New Zion Hill Missionary Baptist. Both of those are again vacant and were noted as unused by the applicants. On page 5 of 6, is a summary of all exempt parcels on the digest. In fact, we've placed the entire exempt digest on the boardroom table, and it can be available if anyone wanted to review it. Here's a consolidation of that exempt digest showing how many and what value we have for all categories. And lastly, on page 6 are standard 9th year adjustments on historic rehabilitation property, where we have taken the midpoint between our historic frozen values and their current fair market values to establish the 9th year taxable value. And that's a lot. So if anyone's got a question, I'll be happy to address.
Any questions?
Henry Middleton?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept the staff recommendations.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Middleton. And who seconded it?
James Scott.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Scott. We have a motion in front of us. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Ayes have it. Staff recommendations. Okay. You notice we're spending a lot of focus of the time on real property. Staff proposed digest involving mostly special assessment, residential, and commercial industrial operations. As such, we will address personal property first, specialized assessment, and project center will follow. Afterwards, we'll start going through the staff 2020 recommendations that everybody's been sent. And that would be, let me make sure I got it right. Ms. Datnack had pages on new parcels of 1 through 3, Mr. Simpkins 4, 6, Mr. O'Neill 7, 9, Ms. Burney 10 through 12, Mr. Scott 13 through 15, and Mr. Middleton 16 through 18. Mr. Mills 19 through 21, and I have 22 through 27. Have y'all all gone through it?
Yes.
Yes.
I think we ought to do a roll call on that. Let's look. Ms. Diatnak,
Yes,
are
here
you satisfied with your first 3 pages?
I am.
Okay. Mr. Simpkins.
Everything seems fair and equitable.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Simpkins,
Yes,
are you
approved.
You approve yours? Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
You approve yours? Ms. Burney?
I believe, Mr. Chairman, that what you're referring to must have inadvertently been omitted from my packet, because in my review, I have increase and decrease, and I have the assessment change list, but I don't have a couple of pages that you're referring to. And all of my materials have been kept together in the folder as it was delivered to me.
Okay, at the top of one of them, it's assessment change list new for 2020. You have that one?
I do.
Well, that's the one. 1 through 20. Yours was, where'd you go? There you are. 10 through 12. Pages 10 through 12.
Okay, well, I apologize. I guess I didn't understand what you were referring to, but I went through the whole assessment change list. And so
Okay.
I didn't have any questions.
Okay.
So I didn't just do a few pages. I did the whole thing.
Okay. Well, we appreciate that.
So did I. I had pages 1 through 27. I did not do any singular pages. I just did the whole thing.
Oh, okay. You have any questions?
No, sir. It looked okay to me.
Okay. Very good. So where did I leave off? Mr. Scott, you're good?
No question. Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
regarding this issue, yes, we provided for new parcels the entire report to all board members. We also isolated for them the pages that were assigned. That information, I believe, was enclosed with all packages. But the
Yes.
point, but because it was only 27 pages, we provided that whole package to the board.
Right.
The increase decrease was 1,048 pages, and we only distributed the assigned pages, which was, I believe, 133 principal to everyone.
Right. And we must remember, in the state of Georgia, pulp trees that make paper is one of our top agricultural crops. So it's okay to use paper.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to repeat that on the change list new for 2020, I didn't have any isolated pages, but it's okay. I
Okay.
reviewed the whole thing and I found no issues.
Well, yeah,
Thank you,
there
Ms. Bernie.
should have been a page in your package that explained, the pages you would go over. But that's okay. No problem. Next, well, Chief, little procedure. Do we need to vote on this separately?
Your call, Mr. Chairman. You can go through the entire report and then act, or you can do it by each piece.
Let's do it by each piece.
Yes, sir.
The assessment change list new for 2020. I need a motion to accept.
So moved.
Renee Diantonac, move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
And I got a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. I didn't hear any nays. It's approved. And let's move on. Next is the increase. I don't know if you can read that or not.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, for the benefit of Representative Nelson and Commissioner Bobby Williams, who do not have those board worksheets in front of them, we will capture the entire universal report in my report that will make these individual references that are being made now more relevant to them. That'll come under my report.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next packet was the ACL increase and decrease. And again, it was divided up on the page with the yellow on it between us board members. And Mr. Mills had page 1 through 135.
No question, I'm good.
You did your 135 pages?
Correct.
Very good. How about Mr. Middleton?
Yes, sir. I had page 136 through
270.
270. And I had a question on one. Just a second, let me get it. It was on page 263. I think there was an 859% increase on the property.
Wow.
Let me try to find it. Yes, on page 63, property on the address was 2815 Ingleside Drive, and that value went from 33,000 to 319,000. And it said structure added or / removed. I'm assuming it had to be added. Something had to be added to that, but I was just wondering, It increased by $286,000.
What was the address again? I've got the Ingleside. What was the street?
That address was 2815.
Okay, I'll give you an answer. 1 second. Yes, sir. That was a new construction. It was a house.
Oh, that was a completely new construction.
Yes, sir. The original value was 33.3, and that was land only last year for 2019, 2020, the house, and it is 100% complete.
Okay. While we're on that page, would you go to 603 Cambridge Road? Let's see. That's page 262. Page 262. That property increased by 500.80%.
Okay. Excuse me. Let's see.
I saw that it had a 1 year's arm length transaction cap removed, but
Yeah, and they did complete renovations. They gutted the house. It was a vacant for a long time, and there was a stop work notice. They had some problems with code enforcement. Since then, it's been completely remodeled, and so that was why the huge increase on the value, sir.
Mr. Middleton,
yes, sir.
that's over in the area I live in, and I'm guessing it is a house that was burned, caught on fire, and then they rebuilt it.
High rent district. Okay.
Yeah, high rent, both dollars.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay, you're good, Mr. Scott.
I had pages 271 to 405. I saw no problem. Nope.
Okay. Ms. Burney, pages 406 through 540.
Yes, I do have a couple of questions just for clarification. On page 419, there is up towards the top of the page an entry 1315 Marks Church Road, and in the last column under description it says USE reval. I have two questions there. The first is this a church? And if it's a church, is it their worship center proper? And their value went up almost 200%. And then on the explanation, it says USE reval. I looked at my abbreviations list and I never could figure out what the acronym USE means. What does it mean, Mr. Chair? Did you hear me?
No, something about an abbreviation.
Yes, USE. I couldn't figure out what that stood for. It's not on my abbreviations list.
NASA, what code is she referring to?
I think she's where it says use reval. I believe commercial used it on their properties. I'm looking it up now.
On a lot of what I reviewed, there is that USE.
Okay.
Miss Burney, I believe what you're looking at is the use reval. I don't think that's a code. I believe that's just a use reval. So
yeah, use reval current market value.
Ms. Barney, that code would specifically refer to a commercial piece of property that was revaled in the 2020 digest proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
Okay.
You will notice on some it says reval, neighborhood reval.
Right. You know, you and I discussed neighborhood reval.
Those would refer to the residential revaluations, yes.
Right. And so most of the USE then is business or commercial.
Those are commercial reval words, yes.
Okay. All right. So I still need an answer to the question about Mark's Church. This was page 419. there's an entry Mark's Church, and it went up in almost 200% in value. And reason I'm asking if that's the primary
Brian, are you looking at that
worship
one?
house, because I thought churches were exempt if it's their primary.
I believe that's Mark's Church Road, Miss Bernie. I don't believe that's actually a church property. I believe that's the street address. If I'm correct, I believe that's either a hotel or an apartment. I'm trying to get to it right now.
Ms.
I'm
Bernie,
trying to look it up for you, Brian.
do you have a parcel identification on that file?
That's what I need.
041-0066-00-0.
Yes, ma'am. I'm pulling it up for you, Brian.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure.
If it's not a church, then I understand it and I'm okay. But at first it looked to me like it was a church, because there is a Mark's Church.
No, ma'am, it is apartments. It's Sage Creek Apartments.
Or Mark Church Road?
Yes, but it is in the name of 315 Mark's Church LLC.
Okay, the church owns an apartment complex.
Yes.
It's
which is
taxable.
not exempt. Yes.
Okay, so that explains it for me, because that's a business.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a business enterprise for the church, so they get taxed on that.
That is correct.
Okay, I was just concerned as to whether it was their primary worship center.
I'll just jump in real quick. This is an LLC. This is not a church-related property in any way. It's just the name of the road and the name of the LLC that owns the property.
Thanks for the clarification, Scott.
Yeah.
And then the last, I have one more question. And rather than talk about each individual little thing that I tagged, I'm just going to group this question, and the answer to it will explain everything else that I've tagged, I'm sure. I'm going to use as an example the Bel Air neighborhood out there off of Dias Parkway. There's a lot of structure characteristics updated, but at the same time, there's some neighborhood reval. A lot of the structure characteristics that were updated, the properties actually were decreased in value. Can you kind of tell me what was going on there?
A little bit of everything, Miss Bernie. What happened was we went out and rode that whole neighborhood.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you speak a little bit louder?
Let me address that now, sir.
Okay.
Part of the process of the neighborhood recoding before it was a reval project was not only reshaping neighborhoods proper to put apples to apples, it was also putting soldiers on the ground to validate properties. Many had not had a visual inspection for greater than 15, 20 years in some cases. I believe what you're referring to is you're seeing a lot of negative adjustments, Ms. Bernie?
Yes.
That is a confirmation that reval work does not definitely mean we're going up on everybody. It also means we're doing due diligence to reflect current fair market values. And this was the opportunity to correct what would be defined as over-assessed neighborhoods. It is a beginning of a 3 to 4 year process to review the 600 plus total residential neighborhoods. We were able to accomplish 131 of the targeted 187 this year. The shortcoming is we did not anticipate COVID-19 that shut us down in mid-March.
Okay, thank you. That takes care of other questions that I would have had on the structure characteristics, because the same philosophy is going to apply. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to kind of hit on a couple of those when I give my report on the global perspective of the neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
There was nothing else, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. O'Neill.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
541-675.
Okay, I have There's two other three that I'd like clarification on. One is residential and two is commercial. The first one, on page 548, listed under 3710 Crawfordville Court. It appears that this property value was much lower than other properties in that neighborhood, and the increase was 107. Well, it went from 84,000 to 179,000, an increase of $95,000. What could happen there?
What's the mapping parcel, sir? Do you have that all the way to the left?
Bob, would you read her the parcel identification number?
053 2012 000.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Was this Greensboro Way?
It's Crawfordville Court.
Or Crawfordville Court, okay. 1 second. Street numbers again, sir?
3710 Crawfordville Court.
All righty. Yes, sir. Let's see. The house went from poor condition to good. Prior to this year, the house had been in poor condition. And they went out and removed the functional on it and brought it back up to good condition with everybody else in the neighborhood. And if you look at that assessment change, his value should be around some of the others.
Okay. The second one would be on this is a commercial property at 1901 Harvest Point Way. Current value was 11 million, and it went up to 21 million, a difference of $9 million. What it shows here, use reval current market value. What could we have missed, and what could have caused it to go up by $9 million?
Mr. O'Neill, we revalued all apartment complexes in the city of Augusta this year. There were a lot of apartment complexes that made substantial value adjustments. That one, I can tell you, is a adjustment from a agreed upon lower value we had on it last year through an appeal process. But we agreed that the appeal will be a 1-year value only, and then the reval value would take over for 2020.
Okay.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes, sir.
I had some apartment complexes that were being valued at less than 50% of its market value. It's been a development over the last 3 years to build in the rebuilding of systems and personnel for the purpose of getting where we are now seeing the major impacts. Again, we started in 18 with 18 residential neighborhoods being revalued. And in 19, we did the first rotation on motel hotels. This year, 131 neighborhoods and motel hotels, apartment complexes, and self-storage. And I'm going to refer to global picture when I get to my report. But that's the point of revals, to correct that which is incorrect. People don't run down here and tell us they rehab a lot of properties. That's why we have to get some kind of process in a rotation. Right now, we're trying to position this board. We think we have that over a 3 to 4 year period, we would have put people on the ground on all parcels for residential and going through all the use classes in commercial. And from that point on, I'm going to talk about it in terms of what's coming for 2021 and system upgrades that's going to afford you even greater flexibility to get it done. I don't want to be coy, but I got some fingerprints in this valuation system that's not going to ever get removed until we go through this whole process.
Okay, well, my third property was pretty much similar to that one, so together that would, what you just gave me would apply to this.
You're more than likely to probably one of the apartment reviews.
Okay, that's it for me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. Mr. Simpkins,
Yes, sir.
76 through 810.
Yes, sir. It looks like in that section, that average increase was something a little less than 10% across the board, with an exception starting with parcel number 061-4-097-00-0 through 061-4-176-00-0, and they went up over 100%. And I'm sure there's a logical reason for all those in a row to go up over 100%. I'm just wondering why.
Brian, that's Sandbar Manor. I think y'all did as apartments.
Okay, yes. If that's Sandbar Manor, that
It
definitely
is.
our apartment project. Like we said, we had some apartments that were valued at $9,000 a unit and are selling for over $100,000. So
whoa,
we're having this reval of apartments really wasn't and a lot of these values did make some major.
Okay. Well, I knew there was a logical explanation. It was just that many in a row. I had to figure something like an apartment. But I appreciate it. That was basically it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Diatnak.
Ms. Diatnak, pages 811 through 945. I was able to speak with Ms. Greer prior to the meeting, and she assisted me with all my questions. That way I would not have to take up everyone else's time. So therefore, at this time, I don't have any further questions to ask.
Thank you, Ms. Diatnak. And I have pages 946 through 1048. And I, like Ms. Diatnak, got here a little early and took the time to visit with staff to get my questions answered, and I'm good. Also at this time, as chairman, and because the board is in a virtual meeting, I hereby attest that I reviewed the exempt partial file, 89 pages, and the no value change partial file of 1,655 parcels, or pages, excuse me. And that all the files, hard copies, are on the board conference room table and the official 2020 Real Estate Property Digest files. At this time, I will entertain a motion for adopting this year's Richland County Real Property Digest.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Renee Diatnak.
Got a motion in 2 seconds. Any more discussion? Then all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposes nay. Sounds like it passed unanimously. This is the culmination of a lot of work over a lot of months that our staff has done. So pat them on the back. Thank them very much. And we can move forward with our digest. Chief, do you have a report? Chief Ross.
Sorry about that, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much.
I've never known you to be a loss for words.
Oh, I had to unmute myself, sir. Mr. Height, if you'd be kind enough to open up the Chief Appraiser's report and display it on the larger screen. Mr. Hyatt, let's go with down at the bottom 2020 so I can stay consistent with the board on what they just talked about. Let's open up number 1, motel hotels. 2020, number 1, motel hotel.
Can you see it?
No, I do not, sir.
What about now?
No, sir. I see myself.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Yeah.
Board members and guests,
You can
what
just
you're looking at. Someone has to mute, please. Board members, what you're looking at is the 2020 motel hotel review. And you're looking at the properties that are technically protected under House Bill on the 299C regulations that limits us modifying the value in the year of the appeal and the 2 years following. And you can see that some people need to go to mute, please. Thank you. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Would you go to mute, please? That shuffling is creating feedback. Thank you, sir. What this report shows is what the 2020 calculated values under the income approach for those new updated models would have been. But you can see the 19 valuations that are frozen in because of 299C. And then you see the difference in the 4th column on the I. There are 2 properties that in fact under the review actually went down from the prior year values, and they in fact receive those lesser values. I just want to give you an update as to what's that's like. Mr. Bobby Williams and Mrs. Nelson, click on the summary file right quick. These are the mechanisms of us tracking those differences. Go to the income model file, please. Herein lies a summary of cap rates, vacancy rates that are driven off sales activities. Which of the files have the massive data in it, Kyle? Which one of these files hold the massive data that pulls all this stuff together? Yeah, the master file. Would you scroll through that, please? To the right. Those summaries that you're seeing all are drawn off the information you're looking at now, that we create income models depending on the type used, be it full service, limited service, motel, extended stay, if you will. And you're looking at the master file that is used for the calculations that you see summarized in the values without going overly detailed in it versus someone thinking we're just coming up with something off the top of our heads. You can close that one. Earlier, Ms. Barney, you mentioned some issues about some values going down. This is a master neighborhood summary report. It shows that this neighborhood as a whole went down by $703,110. The front end up there where he's pointing now, the 18,000 and 8,000, 18 showing the lowest value prior and the lowest value post the reval work of 8,000. We reviewed that one as well to determine what was going on. This is a condo community in which one of the condos back in 15 had severe moisture damage done to it. That's a Senate bill sale of $8,000. We are posting a review for 2021 because the new ownership took place September the 24th of 2019. It carries a 90% functional obsolescence because of the prior damage to the interior. Overall, the upper end values were around 66,000. After the reval, they were closer to 59,000. And if you look at the average value, it moved from 51.8 down to 46.4. On to the next one, Mr. Height. Likewise, you can't see the lowest prior, that light that he's pointing to, but that particular one had a previous value that sold for $2,100. It's been a complete rehab done to that piece of property. It was a house, actually. The current value is now $143,000 on that piece of property. That neighborhood went up by $3.33 million. You can see the highest valuations moved from 142.4 up to 171.20. And the average values in the neighborhood moved from 90,800 to 110. You can see to your left, I got properties built as way back as 1954, as well as some built as late as 2012. The midpoint issue that dominates the neighborhood of houses built in 1956. On to the next one, Mr. Height. Here, I won't be redundant with everything. That 39.5, those were vacant lots prior to this work being done. The 98,000 was a 38% completion in the prior year. And you can see that the valuations have moved from 269.3 up to over 300,000. The average value was 187.5, now up to 202. And the overall neighborhood is going to add 1.62 million in this review. These are just 3 samples I wanted to pull. Last week, we talked about the platforms of each neighborhood by ratio studies. We showed you the ratio position prior to doing the field review time and after the final analysis and adjustments to make those properties meet the statistical requirement of law. You can close that, Mr. Height, unless someone else has some questions about this information. Hearing none, Mr. Height, move on. Next file, please. Relative to all the work that the board has approved, you are now looking at the summary of that work being presented to you. You received a notice that there were 313 new parcels, but it was reported out during the division manager's report, the correction of those 2 that went with partial exempt and partial taxable. What you're seeing is the breakup of the new parcels, increase and decrease We went down 109.6 million in this reval work as well. And you can see we had an increase of 1,175 million. Gross increase was 1.2 billion with a net impact of 1.118 billion. It also shows you a percentage. Scroll down with Mr. Height. The percentage is how they break down. And then we also are providing you with the 2020 digest sectors position at this point. That's good right there. You can see what your pre-bill position was back December. The current net in real. The June digest will come to you scheduled for your June meeting, unless we have to petition for a little bit more time. We also note that on the digest, we've lost 28.5 million again this year under the TABT impact. That's the old birthday tax to the one-time sales tax payment now. Since the inception of TABT, the property tax digest has dropped over $761 million in lost value off the digest. They don't lose the revenue because they get to collect it under a different mechanism. And then you can see what heavy equipment and timber has done so far. And that's a snapshot of your overall digest position as of May 8th at 1,091 million in value. Scroll down a little bit more to give you some relative idea of this year. The changes, notices of assessments. When we look at a 3-year average of new increase and decrease, that average was 12,100 going out. This year, that number is 23,671, up 76.6%, and up 95% over the last 3-year average. Regarding value added to the digest, the average over the last 3 years has been approximately 248.5 million. This year it's up to 1.118 billion. You're up 272.95, almost 300% added valuation to the norm. You can see the difference between 2020 and the 3-year average in front of you. Scroll down a little bit more. And in spite of those reval efforts, your parcel count only moved up 186 or 0.24%. Any questions on that file? Hearing none. On to the next, Mr. Height. This is another profile of the digest movements by growth in the digest by class. First, let me point out that the numbers you're seeing on your upper right-hand side is by class. The aggregate number beneath it, growth by tax districts, matches that number above. To the right is analysis of that movement. You can see the 715, 193, 541 matches the actual file. You can see the projections up under that number of what the projects were for the year. That projected total was 824.6 million. There's a difference between what actually occurred coming through the digest class and what is projected is a difference between project estimates that indicate or do not weigh in. Some of this stuff is going exempt, some is RCDA, whereas the actual digest file picks up your taxable. The other inflationaries, add, historic, industrial, and then residential follow below that. The 715.9193, the 188.834 come to a total of $904,027,917. Scroll down for me, please. When you add in the non-inflationary, that is your actual growth in the digest. That does not affect the rollback calculations. The total projection is 1.069 billion net growth. Scroll down a little bit more for me. That gives you a quick picture of all the dollars in your digest for 2020. 66% is an inflationary off the commercial side, 17.6 is all other, and then 15.4 is your growth of non-inflationary dollars. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to send this file out to everyone because we deal with valuations, but because of this massive issue, as you can see, line 117 through 227, that is information on projected taxation that we'll send out to the board.
And the school board.
And the school board. All these are numbers that are based out of our system. However, we produce the actual 5-year history, rollback calculations officially off the consolidation sheets that will come from the tax commissioner's system. That won't happen until after we submit the digest down the hall, which must be done on or before July 15th. You can close the file. You're showing me your entire platform, so I'm not saying my word. Let's start with Ms. Dolshook at the top. Board members, TABT has had a significant impact to operations and communications. However, this is just giving you a snapshot of some of the emails that are shooting out of here based on preparing for this building and our performance. These issues were issued on April the 27th. Scroll down just a little bit so that the board can see pretty much we've mapped out many of the factors that we needed to bring to their attention. You can close that file, sir. This is an update that was sent as early as March on the announcement to open this building back up. To that extent, Mr. Chairman, we inform you of the need to make some budget shift petitions for the purpose of getting up window guards in our customer service area. We've extended that to include protection guards at all desk areas, and those who are in cubicles, we're preparing for movable protection screens based upon the scheduling of a staff appraiser with the general public. All in all, we negotiated and made adjustments on a $11,100 cost down to $9,400 with the possibility that we might still have to get additional floor protection units. But going out the gate, that's $9,400. We are adjusting the budget. That is thankful to some adjustments out of the Board of Assessors side of the budget at this point in time. We expect delivery for the customer service area as early as this coming Friday, with hopes that the others will be in place ASAP. Until such time, we will marginalize the staff contact with the general public until we have a higher degree of safety that has been put in place. We asked for this stuff back in 16, on March 16, but we received notice after the commission meeting that there was no funding for COVID improvements, and it's going to have to come out of department budgets. And so we had to go to work in short order. You can close that one, Kurt. Open up the bill. You can just scroll down. That'll give you an idea of what's coming here to provide protection for the staff. The customer service area we're going to make permanent, sir. All the other areas will be mobile positions that can be moved. It is the portable, go to the portable, slide up just a little bit. The portable floor, right there is good. Portable floor standing sneeze guard frame systems. These are the areas where we adjust down from 12 to 8. And if we have to go back to 12 or greater, that assessment will be made to handle this matter. Next file, please. Just a quick update on your fuel usage. Again, in spite of these things that we're doing, we're down over 12% from the 2011 budget that we took over at 5,100 in spite of this enhanced movement. One of the things I want to point out, there was no fuel usage in April by the staff. So if you look here at the cost to date, even though we didn't spend anything in April, relative to the same time in 2019, they're very close. We further believe that we're going to get through the 2020 budget fuel year without a need for an adjustment. Scroll up to 2018 and then bring it back down for those who can see we've been tracking this at this level for the last couple of years as we moved into rebound work. You can close it, Seth. Mr. Chairman, board members, I sent you notice. Unfortunately, the progression of mobile technology in Georgia to tell the 3 counties will not make it at the 2020 IAAO conference. However, they've asked that the presenters may consider submitting articles for the IAAO magazine. That's the International Association of Assessing Officials, the upper end of the organization, professional organization that we do mass appraisal in. However, we're still up for presenting a modern approach to assessment appeals that was approved back in March and is yet to be determined whether or not we will present. I have no idea what this virus will be doing in September. You can close it, sir. The Department of Revenue, we submitted, we reported at the last meeting, but we have submitted since then, and we received the invalid sales that were not taken out in our report. 5 of the 39 that we asked to be removed from the report was denied. That's in the first phase. Once it leaves the actual agent and move into the main office, it's a possibility they will, in fact, make further adjustments on our petition. You can close it, sir. Unless somebody interested in seeing the sales list file. Since then, we have now received, click on the attachment. We have now received the appraisals done by the department. The other file deals with actual sales, but they have done appraisals, and as you can see in the end column, that refers to the class. All of them are commercial appraisals, and one is industrial. We're in the process of reviewing those that will all become a part of the 2019 sales ratio study by the Department of Audits. You can close it. Just want to remind you that even though there have been no digest extensions by the state regarding those pertinent issues involving the Board of Assessors, there were some application extensions granted. The new 2020 qualified timberland properties, you can see the title there, we're granting an extension out to July 1. Those valuations are now managed by the state. And once they complete that work for all counties who have a qualified timber property will receive notice from the state regarding what valuation has been set. Close it. Mr. Chairman, what you're seeing now, board members, is references from the team. We have rolled up what is called future year into your current system that creates the 21 digest files, and it starts the process for transfer and ownerships that will occur in 2020 to be reflected as a January 1 ownership 2021. Simultaneously, we are coordinating with your Camel Systems vendor as well as our data cloud field mobile unit as to the advantages of being able to jumpstart also 2021 work, even as we prepare to go into 2020 appeals. You can close it. I apologize, I probably should have had this one first. This is just giving you a heads up scroll down of a webinar that is going to be presented. And I think that there are significant advantages to this webinar in light of the COVID environment and its impacts of what could be there as of January 1, 2021. It is not known by my desk or those I even look to give opinions to, who knows what's going to be the conditions come January 2021. We're preparing ourselves with the data analysis to make appropriate adjustment. Whereas you may see increases on certain uses, particularly in the commercial arena for 2020, they could also have a negative effect by 2021. We don't create the market, we follow it. You can close it, sir. In addition to that, go ahead. In addition to that, we are scheduling meetings with Superior Court regarding our potential estimate of the appeal process for 2020. Our best judgment, we had 623 appeals last year. The midpoint this year, we're projecting at 3,500, upper end of 5,000, low end of approximately 12 to 1,400. If we hit the midpoint of the appeals, based on historical patterns, most folks file the appeal and don't take proper action, and we have requirements of the no value chain to push them out to the Board of Equalization. We're estimating Board of Equalization hearing officers, those type of appeals could have pushed as many as 1,400, 1,500 appeals beyond the Board of Assessors. Last year, all they had to deal with was 200. Obviously, these are just our estimates based on historical data. We'll track the appeal filing period based upon your approval today. We have positioned ourselves with a vendor that we will have the assessment notices in the mail on Thursday, the 14th. The 15th would be day one of the appeal filing for the next 45 calendar days. So the deadline to file, I believe, is Sunday the 28th, but by law, that automatically kicks it to Monday the 29th. So by then, we will know the consequences for sure. It won't be based on our crystal ball issues no more. It'll be real reality. Mr. Chairman, board members, and our guests, thank you. And that is the update from your staff at the Property Appraisal Office.
Very good. Thank you, sir. So the board will consider the 2020 Business Personnel Property Digest at the next meeting on June the 8th, or if necessary, a date to be announced. Please allow me, on behalf of the entire board of assessors, to again thank IT Augusta, who helps put all of this Zoom stuff together for us, and many other projects, and our own staff and appraisal office for making it possible for us to do our duty today. And if fellow board members would thank these people also, it would be greatly appreciated. And thanks, Representative Nelson and Wilson, Williams. Are y'all both still here?
I am.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes,
Our
sir.
liaison.
Commissioner, you will be included on the digest data that's been approved by the board. I'll send that out to you as well, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
In all of this that we've done today, it should be a good digest for the commission and the school board for this coming year.
It would definitely give them options, sir.
Many options. Are there any other? Oh, Ms. Burney, you wanted to say something?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I do. I'm going to make a statement that I wish to be reflected in today's board minutes. And that statement is as follows. There is a difference of opinion and disagreement between the chairman, Mr. Lee, and myself regarding his placement of me on the Specialized Assessment Subcommittee. I will not discuss specifics in today's meeting as I feel like that is not appropriate for today. However, all attempts by me to resolve the issue within the confines of the board have been unsuccessful. It is my professional obligation to make you, my fellow board members, aware that while I would hate to see it as I pursue fairness and equity, I cannot guarantee that this disagreement will not ultimately spill over into the public domain. Therefore, it is my obligation to make you aware of the possibility. End of statement.
Very well. Well, Ms. Burney, I still think you would do a great job on the obsolescence committee. But, you know, if you don't want to do it, then I'll take you off of it. But you are a person who pays special attention to detail, and that's what that committee needs. But regardless, if you don't want to do it, that's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's the only bottom line I've been trying to get to, is that at this time, I do not need to serve on that committee.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm also pleased to announce that the office is still managing themselves with social distancing and rotating when necessary. I'll keep the board members informed of the specific dates once staff is assured they'll be ready in June. Again, these are not normal times for any of us. However, I'm confident that the highest professional delivery possible with this team. That said, are there any other matters? My friend, Mr. Mills, I believe you have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we adjourn this meeting.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. There's no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Everybody.